Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivane Hari Vallabha Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivane Hari Yasoda Nandana Vrajagana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vrajagana Ranjana Vrajagana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivane Hari Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivane Hari Jana Vallabha Girivane Hari Yasoda Nandana Vrajagana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vrajagana Ranjana Nandana Vrajagana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhagavacharya Satarya Satashishi Mahara's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Gauda Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Premasi Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktavrinda Ki ISKCON founder Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Navadvip Dham Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Ganga Mai Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakta Devi ki. Shishi Radha Golokananda ki. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, chapter 68, and we're going to begin on text 32, and we're going to read Lord Balaram's responses to the Kauravas, and then finish this dialogue, and then the next person can speak about what Balaram is going to do after he speaks. So, Aho Yadun Su Samrad Badan. Aho Yadu Su Samradban. Krishnam Cha Kupitam Sanahi. Krishnam Cha Kupitam Sani. Santvayit Vaham Etesam. Santvahi Vaham Etesam. Samam Ichan Ihagata. Saman Ichan Ihagata. Aho Yudam Susamradban. Krishnam Chakupitan Sanai. Sanvayit Vaham Etesam. Samam Ichan Ihagata. Aho Yadun Sus Samradam. Krishnam Chakupitam Sanai. Satvayi Vaham Etesan. Samam Ichan Ihagata. Aho Yadum Su Samradam. Krishnam Chakupitam Sanai. Sandvayit Vaham Etesam. Samam Ichan Ihagata. All right. Yudam Sumam Radam. Satvaya Itaram. Ahoyudam Susamrapan Krishnam Chakupitam Sanai. Okay. Tam ime manda mataya kalaha brirata kalha tamam abhyanaya murur durbahasan manio burban. Okay, translate the word. Aho, yadum, yadus, susamrabahan, boiling with rage. Krishnam, Krishna, cha, also, kupitam, angry, sanai, gradually, santvayitva, having calmed, aham, I, etesam, for these, Kauravas, samam, peace, ichan, desiring, iha, here, agata, came, te imi, those very ones, the gurus, manda mataya, dull-headed, kalaha, to quarrel, abhirataha, addicted, kalaha, wicked, tam, him, mam, myself, avyagana, disrespecting, muhu, repeatedly, dorbasan, harsh words, manina, being conceited, abruvan, they have spoken. Translation. Only gradually was I able to calm the furious Yadus and Lord Krishna, who was also enraged. Desiring peace for these Kauravas, I came here, but they are all so dull-headed, fond of quarrel, and mischievous by nature, that they have repeatedly disrespected me. Out of conceit, they dare to address me with harsh words. So it's only gradually was I able to calm the furious Yadus. And Lord Krishna, who was also enraged, desiring peace for these Kauravas, I came here, but they are so dull-headed, fond of quarrel, and mischievous by nature, that they repeatedly disrespected me. Out of conceit, they dared to address me with harsh words. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading it. Vishwanath says that insulted me, who am well known as their well-wisher. They have uttered bad words. So Balaram was, friends with Duryodhana. But as we'll discuss here, and we've read, we'll see how blind they were. And Balaram was going to point this out. 34. King Urgasena, the lord of the Bhojas, Vrishnis, and Adhakyas, is not fit to command. When Indra was when Indra and other planetary rulers obeyed his orders. So he's responding to what each one of these is responding to a comment that the Kauravas made. You know, that the shoe wants to be the crown, right? He's saying that the Yadus are the shoe. That's what the Kauravas were saying. So they were disrespected, you know, because Balaram had come and said, Urgasena is commanded that you release Samba. So based on that statement, you know, and we'll read this and we'll come back to that. So these were the Balaram's repeating some of the statements that they had said, and that's what's happening here. That same Krishna who occupies the Sudharma Assembly Hall, and for his enjoyment took the Parijata tree from the immortal demigods. That very Krishna is indeed not fit to sit on a royal throne. The goddess of fortune herself, ruler of the entire universe, worships his feet, and the master of the goddess of fortune does not deserve paraphernalia of a mortal king. The dust of Krishna's lotus feet, which is the source of holiness for all places of pilgrimage, is worshipped by all great demigods. The principal deities of all planets are engaged in his service, and they consider themselves most fortunate to take the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna on their crowns. Great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, and even the goddess of fortune and I, are simply parts of his spiritual identity. And we also carefully carry that dust on our heads. And still, Krishna is not fit to use the royal insignia or even sit on the royal throne. So, purport. The above translation is based on Srila Prabhupada's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the place of pilgrimage especially referred to here is the Ganges River. The Ganges water is inundated the whole world, and since it is emanated from Krishna's lotus feet, its banks have turned into great places of pilgrimage. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Krishna, the dust of whose feet the tirtha for the best of yogis, who is personified tirthas, are held by Lokapalas on their excellent crowns, and which even Brahma, your creator, whose power is greater than Indra's, or even Devatas, and even Shiva, and even I, all of whom are but his expansions, or expansions of expansions, and even Lakshmi, his eternal Sakti, with more opulence than any of us carefully carry on our heads, must obtain his throne by begging from them and getting their mercy. This is a sarcastic statement. So this is Balaram's, this is like rhetorical, but these are all, in a sense, sarcastic after they disrespected him. So, number 38. We Vrishnis enjoy only whatever small parcel of land the Kurus allow us, and we are indeed shoes, whereas the Kauravas are the head. Just see how these puffed up Kurus are intoxicated by their so-called power. Like ordinary drunken men, what actual ruler with the power to command would tolerate their foolish, nasty words? So today I shall rid the earth of the Kauravas, declared the furious Balaram. And thus he took his plow weapon and rose up as if to set the three worlds ablaze. That was text 40. So Omaganda Tamarandasya Gananchana Shalakaya Taksu Omli Tamnina Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha. So here, as we mentioned, Balaram is responding to the statements of the Yadus, who were being very disrespectful to the Yadus in general, it described, they were, Duryodhana was there, Dhritarashtra was there, Bhishma, and the Sanskrit says that the nobles, the Kuru nobles responded, and they, of course, there's a number of texts in which they basically insulted the Yadus. Who do they think they are? So in a sense, we know that Samba kidnapped Lakshmi. So they had a right to a certain degree to retaliate, the Kauravas. They kidnapped my daughter, so they had to a certain degree, they had the right to, arrest Samba. But then there should have been some kind of, immediately some kind of political arrangement in order to, kind of dissolve the intensity. And, of course, Bhishma had to, right off the bat, don't kill him. It's okay to arrest him, but there's a limit to what you can do. So he had to remind them to a certain degree, even though they were angry, and to a certain degree. So, but then when we know that Ugrasena was upset, all the Yadus, they were, going to prepare for battle. But this battle, it wasn't the time yet to deal with these Kauravas, as far as, because we know that Krishna could annihilate them without even leaving Mathura or Dwarka. He could have sent his Sudarshan chakra, just like he did when he dispatched it to wipe out Kasi. And those people that lived in that city must have really been really in the mode of ignorance to wipe out an entire city. Krishna, wiped out everybody. Wiped out everybody means, women, children, animals, everybody. Burnt it to a crisp. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah, in the Bible. The Lord destroyed the whole, because the whole town was so wicked. So, Balaram, understanding the situation, said he'll handle this. And of course, we know the end result is that he ultimately did handle it. In these responses, of course, he himself got himself worked up, because of the the way they disrespected not just him, but Ugrasena, his father, Krishna, and sometimes you see devotees get upset, not so much at the disrespect that we get, which we tolerate when we're disrespected, but we shouldn't tolerate so much when the offense is on another Vaishnavas. And to the degree of that offense is also comes to the degree how we should respond. And we see here Balaram, his response was appropriate. He had to just awaken them from their conditions. Because his attempt was also, Samba was in there, he wasn't going to burn the city because they don't want to hurt him. So the idea here, the goal is to retrieve him from this. He's made comments like they were dull-headed, fond of quarrel, and mischievous by nature. These are some of the comments that Balaram said about these Kauravas. And this tends to be the condition of all the living entities in Kali Yuga. This is pretty much a good description of everybody in Kali Yuga. We're dull-headed, the age of quarrel, they're fond of quarreling. And by nature, everyone is mischievous. You have a tendency to make mistakes. We have imperfect senses. So this is the nature. And it's described here that you can see this. The symptoms of Kali Yuga are already trying to manifest themselves. You can see some of the signs. And these are some of the signs. And so the problem is when you're on top of the food chain, when you think you're the king, like the Kauravas, they think they were the Lord of all of that, not just India, Varsa. So they were thinking that, that who is anybody to demand anything from us? So then they immediately started losing their intelligence when they started getting angry. Of course, Balaram doesn't lose his intelligence when he gets upset. His purpose is to make a correction, and which is what he does. But their purpose, when we become angry, we tend to lose our intelligence, and then we tend to do stupid things. And the angrier we get, the more stupid some of the things we do, with the way we respond. But this is because of their false ego. It's their pride. So pride often comes before fall. So the diplomacy was necessary, but because they lost their intelligence, they didn't know how to properly respond to what Balaram had said. It covered their intelligence. And to the degree of opulence that one has, it affects our false ego. It fixes us firmly within the bodily concept of life. We know we have these 6 opulences. We have, the wealth, knowledge, fame, beauty, strength, renunciation. And if you're very wealthy, this is one of the most common ones, then it's very easy to detach oneself from that material condition and engage in spiritual life. There's another verse from Jesus Christ. He said that it's as easier to thread an eye of a needle with an elephant than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Because of his attachment. He's not going to give up his wealth. He doesn't. And beauty is the same way. If one is very attractive, they tend to identify, yes, especially if there are people who tell them, oh, you're very beautiful, you're very attractive. So these types of things reinforce that bodily concept of life. Or you're very strong, you have these abilities. Yes, yeah, I'm very strong, I can do, I have all these capabilities, and then tend to identify with those. And so we see the Kauravas, they thought that they were the masters of everyone. They were the top of the food chain. And you have no right to demand anything from us. This is what their mentality was. Of course, this was also affected their, So, when you're in the management, when you're in a kshatriya, you're a king, you're a warrior, there's always politics. You always got to deal with politics. It's a huge thing. Because what happens when you're in charge, typically other people want to take what you got. So you're taken from other people, and there's a reciprocation. They're going to take what you got. So kshatriyas typically, if you're the king, as a kshatriya, they don't do any service for anybody. Their service is to protect and provide a particular service, but in exchange, then they can take taxes. They can say, okay, you owe certain taxes, which this is the Varnashram system. Brahmins serve by teaching, and of course Vaishyas are the economic engine, and Sudras do service to everybody, their labor. But Kshatriyas, they're in one sense, they give service and protection, but they take. That's their primary. So this is so there's some diploma. So when they go to school, they're brought up, they're trained. And some of the things that Kshatriyas are trained in school is politics. One is like Rajaniti, the art of governance. Right? So it says diplomacy, taxation, justice, and the maintenance of law and order. These are some of the things when like the princes are educated when they grow up. This is the purpose of proper management, proper governance. And then Arthashastra is they learn the economics, statecraft, how to manage resources for the welfare of the people. So their idea, their protection, right? And then negotiation and alliances. This is extremely important for Kshatriyas. We see it kind of broke down in this situation. So how to make treaties, form alliances, and maintain peace when possible. So good managers are able to deal with these types of things. And how good you are with these things reflects how good of a manager you are. So ethics and rulership, justice tempered by mercy, the protection of Brahmins, women, children, and the elderly. This is all from Srimad Bhagavatam. So a manager is judged by these types of abilities. As good as you are, dealing with, and typically these are problems that you have to manage. That's one of the biggest things managed. Like, here comes an army who wants to take, attack this particular kingdom. So you have to give some type of protection. So the king is always having to deal with these issues. We have Krishna who's always having to deal with these demons who are creating havoc for the society, the citizens. And Krishna, he learned, when he went to Sunday Monday schools, he learned 64 arts. And we're not going to mention all of them right now, but some of them were that military science is one of the things he learned in school. Of course, he learned yoga and mystic powers. He learned knowledge of ethics and codes of conduct, and the skill in disguise and espionage. These are some of the things that Krishna learned. He was a boy, but he learned these types of activities. Of course, they learned how to, fight and, use swords, arrows, and all these other shields, and, and there's probably all types of, karate and judo and all these things, which all originated from India. These arts, these famous arts, they actually came from India. These were taught, and the soldiers learned all these arts. We'd already mentioned some of these things, So, but politics is an art. Politics is it's part of life, and but we have to, as devotees, we have to be able to manage this type of environment, and especially if you're in a position of management, you have to be able to be very good at managing these things. I mean, there's people who are good at managing things, and there are people who are good at managing people. But very few people can manage both things and people. It's a special art that you can, there's a lot of responsibility, and oftentimes false egos get in the way, as we can see, even in, and it's just about every organization you can think of, somehow politics creeps into that organization and has some type of effect on it. And it doesn't matter if it's a business, you have which is often the lines of responsibility are well defined because you're employed to do a particular job. You're paid to do a particular job. You are so you're, in a sense, you surrender to get a particular paycheck. So the motivation there is to get paid. So you fall in line. You go along with the rules and regulations. It's a little bit easier to define. And which is really kind of interesting because we have this feminist movement. This feminist movement is interesting because they encourage independence. So women who choose to stay home are kind of look maybe not as favorably of those who go out and try to enter the workforce or corporate and try to move up the corporate ladder. But I think what's lost in this, that women in these situations are already independent managers. They make their own schedules. They have to deal with kids, but their hours throughout the day, they're just pretty much their own. They run the house. They have their own independence. And when they give that up, they become subservient, right? They're told, don't become subservient to your family, but then they give that up and become subservient to some corporation, some manager in a corporation who tells them what time you're allowed to show up, what time you're allowed to leave, when you're allowed to eat, when you're allowed to take breaks, what you're allowed to wear, right? And so these are where feminists are telling women they shouldn't be surrendering to this. Okay? So a woman at home can eat whenever she wants to eat, dress any way she wants to dress, right? So she actually gives up her independence, and this is one of the ignorances of society that creates this a downgrade in society and actually creates havoc within families itself. And we can see the results when families are corrupted in different ways. The results is you have a society that's also corrupted. So these things, and then of course They have to deal with the politics also of the particular workplace. And churches are not exempt also from politics. Everything is, every church has its political situation. Temples also. It's an art to be able to manage these things. Sometimes there's a saying, Christian saying, is that the closer to church, further from God. Because you get there, and oftentimes you lose the desire is minimized because you get affected by politics, and then the mind gets disturbed, and you get involved with the wrong types of things when you get this way. You get involved. It's best to keep some, to separate yourself the best you can, because you don't want to lose the desire to be with Krishna, to make spiritual advancement. You become displaced, right? And you become you don't have any difference to one's chanting or one's ability to make spiritual advancement. This is one of the things that Goloka Kumar, his spiritual master, was teaching him. When he went to Jagannath Puri, and he got so involved with, serving the deity and doing deity worship, that he kind of neglected his chanting a little bit because he was doing this service full time. He had a desire to do this. But his spiritual master told him, never neglect your chanting. Of course, he also, when he became the king of Rissa, and he realized, okay, one of the things I got to deal with is all these other people who want to also be the king. So this became a distraction to his service. He realized, that this management is like an impediment to devotional service. So he gave it up. But then he became Indra, and the same thing happened when he was Indra. Wow, this is he thought, well, to be Indra, it's got to be pretty nice. But then when he became Indra, and he had to deal with the good things, I can increase devotional service, I can do some positive things. But then there was the negative side of the management, which created an impediment to him making spiritual advancement. And he became Brahma. He went to Brahma Loka, right? Same thing. He became Brahma, and he experienced the same thing. So you see, it took him a few times, before he actually finally realized, okay, I don't want these things in the material world aren't the greatest things to be a part of. It's not the greatest thing to be Indra. It's not the greatest thing to be Brahma or the king of some kingdom. The greatest thing is to be a devotee and to engage in devotional service and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the conclusion. This is his sadhana. Through his sadhana, he repeatedly experienced this and ultimately came to the right conclusion. So, anybody got any questions, any comments, anything? The Kauravas what? Yeah. Well, top of the food chain it's kind of like a slang term. It means they were the emperors, right? And under them were a lot of kingdoms. And one of the kingdoms was Ugrasen. There was a kingdom under him, right? And the Pandavas wanted a kingdom in Bharatvarsha. They were the emperors, but we know that they wouldn't give him anything. We're not going to give you nothing, the Pandavas. So they have kingdoms that are management. They have a structure. You have the emperor, and throughout the kingdoms you have different provinces, and these provinces had somebody in charge, and they were just like sub-kingdoms, but they weren't so that was the whole argument. Oh, you think that because the thing is that we allowing you to have your kingdom. This is another thing the Kauravas were saying, that we were allowing Krishna and Ugrasena to be able to have, Krishna had Dwarka. So you're allowing, and then you want to come here and make these kind of demands. You're not in a position. They were thinking, you're not in any position to make any demands. But Balaram was about to set them straight. He was about to let them know, we are in a position, and that we'll read. The thing about politics, it's just so, it's gotten so obnoxious. We can see politics in the material world. I mean, in politics is throughout history. I mean, this country had a whole civil war because of politics. You know, you have over 400, 600,000 people were killed. Of course, nowadays the politics ain't much better. You know, you got the Republicans and Democrats. It's just, they're just both equally low-class individuals. They're all materialistic, equally. You've got just as many haters on one side as you do on the other. But if you gravitate to one side, you're thinking we're pious, and the other side are haters, right? And this is as sadhakas, we don't want to associate that. Prabhupada very clearly summed it up. You know, you got wet stool or dry stool. You know, which one do you like? So he kind of, but we see we have sadhakas, we're sadhakas, we want to become devotees. They tend to gravitate to these different sides. And what's infecting them is they listen to these news organizations. They go and watch news, and they watch these news, and these news organizations are doing nothing but serving up their own political purposes. They've already gravitated to one side or another, whether it's the left or the right. They're equally, and they're serving up doses of hate. And when you go and associate with that, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get your dose of hate, and then you're going to want to repeat what you heard from somebody who repeating what they heard. You know, and it's just the stool, wet stool or dry stool, politics. So the best thing is to stay away from that news. Stop watching it. There's very little news. Some news you can get a little bit. You don't have to, you know if it's almost the weather is probably one of the most accurate news that you can get. These news organizations should start off with, we got about a 20% chance of being accurate today. Where the news will tell you it's going to rain, like 30% chance of rain, or this. So that's how the news is. You know, we got about a 20% chance of being accurate. All biased. We got a 100% chance of being biased today. That's what they all should lead with. So, anyway, like I was like on the last one, I go to the temple, and these are like senior devotees, and it's friends, you know, Prabhupada disciples, and some, not all of them, but you talk to, hey, how you doing? Seeing you, and within a minute they want to start going into Trump haters or Trump lovers. They're either one or the other, or Biden haters or Biden lovers. It doesn't matter who's in office. They're idiots, you know. And it's like, okay, you didn't come to the temple to be indoctrinated by that type of. It happens on both sides, and on social media too. They even they came out of the closet. It seemed like probably like 10 years ago. This thing started. We used to just keep these things to ourselves, which you should. You don't want to bring this stuff out in the association of other devotees, because you're just infecting them. It's just not what they want to hear. Okay, I think that's enough. Any questions? Comments? All right. Thank you. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Maravindadalayatakam Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Nandar Agom Vidamaniya Nishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Gopinatha Madana Mohan Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan 38 Jaya Baba Purnamasi Jaya Abir Nagari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Abir Nagari Jaya Jaya Gopishwara Vrindavanama Jaya Jaya Krishna Saka Bhattudri Jarat Jaya Krishna Jaya Rama Gata Jaya Rohini Nandan Rama Gata Jaya Rohini Nandan Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Basi Jata Jaya Vrindavana Basi Jata Jaya Dvija Padni Jaya Jaya Kanyaga Bhakti Tejahara Pailo Govinda Charan Shirasa Mandala Jaya Jaya Radha Shyam Jaya Radha Shyam Jaya Jaya Rasa Lila Sarvamanaram Jaya Jaya Jwala Rasa Sarva Rasa Sar Parakiya Bhave Jaha Brajate Prachar Shri Janavapada Padma Gauriya Smaran Dina Krishna Dasa Koe Nama Sankirtan Krishna Dasa Koe Nama Sankirtan Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Nitai Goranga Jaya, Nitai Goranga, Goranga Jaya, Nitai Goranga Jaya, Sachinandana Jaya, Sachinandana, Sachinandana Jaya, Sachinandana Jaya, Sachinandana Gaura Hari. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Please read together. All glories to Radha Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavan. All glories to the three presiding deities of Vrindavan, Sri Govinda, Gopinath, Modana Mohan. All glories to Shamakunda, Radhakunda, Govardhan Hill, and the Jamuna River, Kalindi. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavan. All glories to Keshi Gata, the Vansivata tree, and the 12 forests of Vraj. At these places, the son of Nanda, Sri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glories to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yasoda. All glories to the cowherd boys, headed by Sridham. All glories to the cows and calves of Vraja. All glories to Radha's divine father and mother, Vrishabhanu, and the beautiful Kirtida. All glories to Purnamasi, the mother of Sandipani Muni. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Vraja. All glories to Gopishwara Shiva, who resides in Vrindavan in order to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmana friend, Madhu Mangala. All glories to Ramagat, where Lord Balaram performed his rasa dance. All glories to Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini. All glories to all the residents of Vrindavan. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedic Brahmanas. All glories to the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Through pure devotion, they all obtained the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the rasa dance of Sri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shyam. All glories to the divine rasa dance, which is the most beautiful of all Lord Krishna's pastimes. All glories to the mellow of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas, and is propagated in Vraj by Sri Krishna in the form of the divine Parakya Bhava. Remembering the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda's consort, Sri Janava Devi, this very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna sings the Sankirtan of the holy name. Krishna, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami.